In the pantheon of true crime and unsolved mysteries, few cases are as eerie and confounding as the lead mask's case of Brazil. On the surface, it seems like a simple tale of two dead men found in an isolated area. But the deeper one digs, the stranger the facts become: two dead bodies, lead eye masks, cryptic notes, and a trail of esoteric and extraterrestrial whispers. To this day, it remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in Brazil's history. The story begins on August 20th, 1966, when a young boy named Jorge da Costa was flying his kite in the hills of Morro do Vintém near Niterói, a city in the state of Rio de Janeiro. While chasing after his kite, he stumbled upon a surreal and unsettling scene: two male corpses lying side by side in the dense underbrush. The bodies were strangely posed, almost serene, as if they had simply lain down for a nap. Yet, something was profoundly off. Both men were dressed identically in formal suits, covered by heavy waterproof raincoats despite the hot weather. But the most bizarre detail was the large lead masks covering their eye-screwed, homemade shields resembling welders' goggles, but fashioned entirely from thick lead. Terrified, the boy alerted local authorities, and soon, police and curious locals gathered at the site. As investigators examined the scene, the mystery only deepened. The two men were quickly identified as Miguel José Viana, 34, and Manuel Pereira da Cruz, 32. Both electronic technicians from the town of Campos dos Goitacazes, about 200 kilometers away. Both were well-respected, hard-working men with no known criminal ties or enemies. They were friends, co-workers, and shared an interest in electronics and, as it would later emerge, spiritualism and the occult. The police were baffled. There were no signs of a struggle, no visible injuries, no weapons. The bodies appeared untouched by violence. Scattered nearby were a few items: an empty water bottle, two towels, damp from recent use, and, most notably, a small notebook containing a cryptic message. Written in Portuguese, the note read, 1630 be at the determined place. 1830 ingest capsules. After effect protect metals. Await signal. Mask. This fragment of a message would become the central clue of the investigation. It hinted at a planned event, possibly a ritual or experiment. The term ingest capsules suggested drugs or poison, while protect metals and mask seemed to reference the lead eye coverings. But what did it all mean? Who had given them these instructions? And for what purpose? The investigation pieced together the last known movements of Cruz and Viana. On the 17th of August, 3 days before their bodies were found, they had told their families they were traveling to Sao Paulo to buy work-related supplies. They withdrew a large sum of money for the trip. However, instead of heading to Sao Paulo, they boarded a bus to Niterói. At around 2:30 p.m., they arrived and purchased waterproof raincoats from a local shop. They also bought a bottle of water and requested the receipt, which was unusual. Witnesses recalled Miguel seemed particularly nervous, checking his watch repeatedly as if waiting for a specific event. What happened after remains a mystery. Sometime between their arrival and the evening of the 20th of August, the two men made their way up Morro do Vintém, where they would meet their end. The presence of the lead masks became a focal point of public speculation. Such masks were typically used by technicians and scientists working with radiation to protect their eyes from harmful rays. But why would two electronic repairmen need such protection on a remote hillside? One popular theory was that Cruz and Viana were attempting to contact extraterrestrials. The 1960s saw a surge in UFO sightings in Brazil, and some locals reported seeing strange orange lights hovering over the hills around the time of the men's deaths. Could the signal they were waiting for have been an alien spacecraft? Were the lead masks intended to shield them from the blinding light of a UFO encounter? Another theory posited that the men were engaged in an esoteric spiritualist ritual. Brazil has a rich history of spiritual movements, blending Catholicism, Spiritism, and Afro-Brazilian religions. Some believe the pair were attempting to communicate with higher beings or protect themselves during a transcendental out-of-body experience. In this context, the capsules they planned to ingest could have been hallucinogenic substances intended to facilitate such an experience. The towels, possibly used to cool their bodies during the process, seemed to support this ritualistic interpretation. As the investigation failed to yield clear answers, theories multiplied. Given their technical background, it was plausible the men were conducting a scientific experiment. Some speculated they were testing a device or chemical reaction related to their work with electronics. Perhaps they mishandled toxic substances, leading to accidental poisoning. Yet, no equipment was found at the scene, and no residue of chemicals or radiation was detected. Friends and family revealed that Cruz and Viana had been involved with a group of spiritualists who experimented with psychic phenomena and alchemical practices. Members of such groups were known to attempt astral projections and contact with spirits using various methods, including ingestion of psychotropic substances. Could this have been a fatal misstep in one such ritual? Had someone within their circle convinced them to perform this dangerous act? A more sinister theory emerged. The two men were murdered, and their deaths staged to look like a bizarre ritual. Perhaps they had knowledge or possessions that made them targets. The lead masks, the note, the unusual setting, could all of it have been a diversion to confuse investigators? However, with no signs of struggle, no witnesses, and no apparent motive, this theory remained speculative. The UFO theory persisted. Brazil had multiple documented cases of UFO sightings during the 1960s, including the infamous Antonio Vilas Boas abduction case in 1957. Proponents of this theory suggested that Cruz and Viana believed they had established contact with extraterrestrials and were following specific instructions for a meeting. The cryptic notes reference to a signal fed this narrative. Perhaps the capsules were meant to prepare them physically or mentally for contact. But if so, why did it lead to their deaths? One of the most frustrating aspects of the lead masks case was the incompetence of the official investigation. The autopsy was delayed for so long that the bodies had decomposed significantly, rendering toxicology tests inconclusive. No trace of poison was detected, but given the state of the corpses, this result was unreliable. Even more baffling, the lead masks themselves were never thoroughly analyzed. No attempts were made to trace their origin or determine if they had been fashioned by Cruz and Viana themselves. The case was eventually closed without resolution, filed under unexplained deaths. Over the years, the lead masks case has remained a subject of fascination for researchers, writers, and paranormal enthusiasts. It has been featured in countless documentaries, podcasts, and books. The sheer strangeness of the case, the combination of unexplained deaths, cryptic instructions, and the eerie setting has cemented it as one of Brazil's most enduring mysteries. In popular culture, the case is often linked with other strange phenomena, including UFO lore, secret societies, and forbidden science experiments. The story captures a universal fear, the dangers of venturing into the unknown without understanding the consequences. Even today, key questions remain unanswered. What were the capsules the men ingested? What was the true purpose of the lead masks? Who wrote the note? And what did "await signal" refer to? Why choose such an isolated and treacherous location? Were Cruz and Viana victims of a tragic accident, or was foul play involved? The lack of closure ensures that every few years, the case is revived in the public imagination, sparking new theories but offering no definitive answers.